This is a different kind of seminar, because this is a seminar as like a preview, a nutshell of what we're going to do in January. But it will be a seminar with a purpose. We will learn a few important things about the city of Rome. It is not just a preview in that sense. There's a purpose to this. So my name is Alvaro Higueras. I teach at SFU. And I've been in Vancouver for now 2 years and a half. So, of course, our first word, this is not Italian. This Saturnis fora. Remember, the plural of forum is fora. And that's something you will find in Rome when you go to the imperial fora. That is an area with 5 forum. And so Saturnis fora, and welcome to the Saturnis fora as today. So Italy and Rome is an extremely attractive place. You've been watching some film before, and this is the kind of settings you will be able to find in Rome. Okay? Mike is gone again? No. It was so. This is the gardens of Tivoli. Now, when I talk about Rome, one of the things I really like to emphasize is that Rome is a big city, but there are very attractive sightseeings in the surroundings of the city. Some are easy to get, some are a bit more difficult. This one in particular, if you want to get by public transportation, is a bit more difficult, but the rewards are immense. So next in January, in February, in our session where I talk about the outskirts of Rome, Tivoli and the Villa Adriana, the house, the palace of Emperor Hadrian, that is down, the palace is to the left down the hill, is worth a visit. And in the purpose on February 12, when we talk about the outskirts of Rome, I will also give you the logistics information. How do we go about getting there? Which I think is very important for you to know, get to Rome and know exactly what you need to do to get there. And this is the kind of settings you will be able to enjoy. When you see these landscapes, humanscapes in fact, because obviously you have artifacts, you have buildings within the landscape, a few words come to mind, most of them related to divertimento, to the joy that the Cardinal Ippolito d'Este had when he invested his fortune into building his palace at Tivoli. His investment was meant to have enough prestige to become pope. It didn't work. He spent a lot of money, but never became pope. Nonetheless, this is what we have from his life commitment to become pope, and of course become richer, right? A divertimento, and the waters that you see there that we just saw is this andante joy, this joy of living for the Italians, and at some point, as we are facing those waters, or we are in the middle of the Forum, Roman Forum, or inside the Colosseum, these rich scenarios of art and nature, a triumph of art, really. A triumph of the blending of nature and what man can do, humans can do with their technical skills and their artistic skills. But in fact, all this boils down to arts, politics, and power. The purpose of building the Colosseum, the purpose of building the Gardens of Tivoli was to get more power. Power to control, power to rule, power to extract goods from the lands you conquer. All this art that you see in Rome is a result of power, of conquests, of killing people, yes, of popes taking arms and expanding the territory of the Pope, the royal, the Vatican state. In the center of Rome, in the very center of the city, here, where Rome as a society is born, we find the contrast of those buildings made through time, through 2,700 years, 2,700 years. We find the Colosseum by the year 0, I'm rounding up by 69 years, 70 years, and in 1900s, this what is the arguably the ugliest building in Rome. This is finished in 1900 as a monument, funerary monument, a mausoleum to the first king of Italy, which, by the way, was not that good. The king was not very good anyway. So you see, 1,100 years separate this and that building and this building. It's a mix of times, a mix of arts and styles. As you saw, as you will see the skyline of Rome, this monument protrudes, and it should be at least torn down up to here. So we regain the view of what Rome is, right? So it is pretty ugly. It has improved a lot because they have created a view, a mirador. And they have built a shaft in glass, which doesn't make the building any uglier. It was uglier but there's a very good view, and then if you're on top, you don't see it. So you have a view of this side and the other side over there, and you avoid this white elephant. So it's a contrast, and that is what you will see. It's a contrast of the year 79 when the Amphitheater Flavian is finished, a contrast to the Senate of Rome here, built in the first building 700 before Christ, the 1900s, and of course here, the square by Michelangelo, 1530. The Renaissance, Michelangelo architect here. He designs these three buildings, the square and the staircase. So very much a combination of art. And anytime you walk around, you will see this combination of art made to show power. For example, the Pope wanted this square to be ready when Charles V of Spain would come back to Rome, and Charles V of Spain would come into Rome through the Via Sacra, up the hill. The old temple of Jupiter was right here. It's not there anymore. You can see it under the museum. And Charles V will come through the piazza and then come down and get to the Vatican. The Vatican is quite far from here. But it was made as part of the scenario of power. The Pope wanted to show Charles V of Spain, the most Catholic of kings of Europe, how powerful the Pope was. Of course, remember, Charles V of Spain, 10 years before, had destroyed the city of Rome. As a way of telling the Pope, yeah, you might be Pope, but I am the most important king of Europe. And in fact, it is arguable Charles V had the Americas, had Peru, Mexico, the Philippines, parts of India, etc. Today, so we will have today a taste of the resources, an antipasto. No? More than antipasto, the antipasto is really the course of 6 sessions. Today it's a spuntino, an amuse-gueule, a canapé. No? Uno spuntino to the course in January. And yes, then, during the course, and here, as a brief, we will explore the endless. And I think I don't mince with the word endless. Rome is endless. Unlike any other city of the world, really. And it's not because I live there, and a lot of my work has been done in Rome as instructor, professor, teacher, and manager. But it is endless there is for every taste. And for you who plan to visit Rome, or who would like to refresh their knowledge of a city you lived or visited not long ago, and of course, for those who just want to know a bit more about the history of one of art and life of one of the richest cities in the world. So the spuntino today, the spuntino is the little canapé you have at 10 o'clock in the morning with your cappuccino, right? Will include the review of the course at what we're going to do in January, but also an insight on one very important event in the history of Rome. So we will end up with a knowledge of some important event in the city, in the history of the city. Of course, these are fantastic pictures. These are available now to everyone. These are from Google Earth. It's quite easy now to have very, very striking images of the Earth thanks to Google. The center of Rome here, technically, Piazza Venezia, where the monument, the white elephant is. That is technically the center of Rome. That is where Mussolini had his palace. That is where he had his big rallies. That is where the monarchy of Italy made the first, it sent the center of the city. Rome became capital of Italy in 1781. One of the things we're also going to do is use Google Maps, but use Google Maps to also, Google Streets, to take a view around the city of Rome. This is a close-up of the Pantheon, for example. And we will use these great things to go and check out. For example, we will get down to the... For many of you, it will be interesting to just be able to see how the square looks from the bottom, right? So here's the Piazza Navona. Piazza Navona, one of the nicest places in Rome, with the palace of Pope Clement XI, the fountain by Bernini, the church of Sant'Agnese by Borromini. Very interesting. In a square that was the ancient stadium of the Mission. The square keeps the shape, elongated shape, flat at one end, semicircular here, of what was an ancient Roman stadium. Okay. So this is something we will do during the course with a lot of patience. Looking around. It is different to see the things from the street and for you to be able to identify what is important in what are very busy cities. And from here, for example, yes, a view from the little street that leads to the Pantheon. And you start seeing the Pantheon not open, but surrounded by these 16th century, 17th century buildings of the city of Rome. So, just to make sure you know where I come from, this is where I come from. And this is only from starting in the... I wasn't born in 1980. But this is basically archaeology in Peru, in the Central Andes. PhD in the US. PhD dissertation, research in the highlands of Bolivia, then Europe, with Greece, with Eritrea in Africa, teaching a couple of years. Work in Kosovo, and a long time in Bosnia. Okay, Kosovo and Bosnia, doing mostly cultural heritage issues. And Rome, 3 years. I had visited Rome many times before, and then living there 3 years before moving to Vancouver. In Rome, issues of mass tourism and risk management. Rome is a city that is visited by 22 million people a year. It is very crowded. It can be very crowded. That is good for the ticket office of the archaeological sites, but it is not good for the archaeological sites themselves, the structure of the sites. In Italy, we have a lot of heritage that needs to be conserved, that needs to have investments to be conserved, and even when that heritage is conserved and finished, it will never be able to be open to the mass of people. There's no fresco room that will survive 2 months. And there are clear examples. There are some examples that show this. They will not survive the mass of visits. So yes, in Italy, many sites are conserved, but will never be able to be visited by anyone except the experts. If you are an expert, you might have a go at visiting the little chapel of Santa Maria Antiqua, right behind this wisteria, one of the earliest Christian church in Rome, whose the frescoes have been restored but never It has never been open for the public. And then in Bosnia, a different kind of problem, the destruction of cultural heritage. We all know about the disasters of the war and the civil war in the Balkans, and it was not only about killing people of different ethnic groups or different religions, there was a psychological impact of destroying their cultural heritage. This was the third largest mosque, Turkish, Ottoman mosque, in the Balkans, and it was destroyed by the Serbs in 1993. So another of the issues I worked on was the reconstruction process. At some point, you need to reconstruct this in some way or another. It takes time. It takes a lot of different work, social, political, and economic. This is not an archaeologist, okay? It might look like, but it's not an archaeologist. I like to say that. Okay, so what are the themes for preparing a good stroll in Rome? These are themes that will guide our course, the logistics, how to move around, what buses to take, what not, Rome on a budget. Might it be possible to visit Rome on a budget? It is, and that's something we will learn during the course. History, there's for every taste. Those who like Baroque, those who like the problems, the political problems of the Baroque age, those who like the Romans, those who like Etruscan, also earlier. We'll see a long list of what we can get. Planning is key. It is quite a structured visit, or knowing the secrets of how to visit sites is quite important, and making reservations to some of the sites. There is one site that I recommend highly to everybody, but once they're there, there's really little they can do. For you who, there's a site in Rome that needs 3-4 months reservation in advance, because there's only 2 visits of 10 people a day, and they don't work on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So you can, okay? So it requires planning, and with planning, things are much smoother. Eating, of course, foraging the basic staples, where to get those, we will talk about that. Remember, in Italy, in food, simple is better. Okay, I have had lots of problems with my students in Rome who come from the US and who really do not like the pizza. And I have really a problem. It's a shame to have to fail them for that, but what can I do? So they have a problem with the pizza in Italy because, they're used to other kinds of pizza. And in Rome, pizzas are simpler. This is, of course, this is where I get most of my information about Rome until I was 10 years old. Asterix and Obelix. All right? Asterix and Obelix, the Gauls who fight against the Roman Empire. This is one of the, another day, sunny day, just upon the greatest city of the universe, Rome. Okay? Until I was 10 years old, I used Asterix. And most of my Latin also come from Asterix. So what to do first? Where is the pizza? And this is something basic. This is a basic staple. One hint. The best pizza in Italy is not in a restaurant. Yes, in a restaurant it will be nice. You will have the tablecloth and you will be sitting after a day. But the best pizza will not be found in a restaurant. Of course, I'm talking about general terms. During the course, I'll tell you, if you want to sit down, 2, 3, 4 restaurants that where you might enjoy the good. But the best pizza in Rome is in a bakery. It is where you eat the best pizza. And this is quite true. Where you eat it by the weight. They will cut the pizza and you will choose, you will say, un pezzo di pizza, una striscia di pizza, un pezzo così, and they will cut that piece. You can eat this, they will wait for you, and then you will pay. You don't have to sit down, you don't have to pay tips, and you will get the best pizza. So this is one important thing that you need to know. An antico forno. This one is one I will recommend. Even the nuns go there. Yeah, it's a good one. It's in the Vatican area, of course, and it's an excellent spot to to finish, have lunch or have the spuntino before or after the very, very heavy, strenuous visit to the Vatican museums and St. Peter. Okay? You will need all your energy, so stock up on carbohydrates at the Antico Forno. This is the best pizza, and of course it's cheaper. Now, yes, there's a fantastic view in Piazza Navona and the cafes to have a pizza, but it's the worst pizza you can eat in Rome. And it will cost you 25 euros, plus the tips you have to leave the guys. So we will give that kind of information to show you how you can make the, and there's the woman inside who's cutting the pizza with a scissors. You've never seen that before. Yeah, and will sell it by the weight. Or this one, Roscioli, which also has very good bread. Excellent. And in this case, you can sit down. In the Antico Forno here, you will not sit down. Here, you will be able to sit down on some stools. So these are important things, how to get about finding what is the best fast food staple in Italy. I do think I never entered a McDonald's in 3 years because my fast food was always pizza. That is the best thing around. How to move around carefully. Traffic is complex. Traffic is complex because also on top of that you have the motorinos, the little scooters. You start seeing them in Vancouver, but they're very rare. In Italy, they're extremely common. So, for those of you who rent a car, for example, you should know that ZTL means zones of limited traffic. You have to have a permit. And I've had friends in Vancouver who said, look at this, the municipality of Florence had sent me this fine. And yes, they had a rented car, went in and click photo of the plate and fine, because they're not allowed to. So these are things we need to know. Rome has a historical center. It's a ZTL zone. Only taxis and politicians' cars, which, of course, taxis and politicians' cars make up for this. Because in Italy, the politicians, everybody, the government of Italy has the largest pool of official cars in the world. You have to be lucky. You have to avoid this, sciopero. This is a strike. And in Italy, transport buses are often on strike. Public transportation in Rome is not fantastic. It is pretty bad. It is cheap. It costs you $1.30. But it's not very good. You have to avoid this one. This is the worst bus in the world. You get mugged, you get robbed, you get pushed. Every tourist that lands in Termini train station hops in this one. And they don't know, they can go by subway. Easy, same price, faster, and not get mugged in the adventure. So whatever you do, never get in on the 64. It's better to walk to the Vatican rather than get on the 64. That's the one bus to avoid. These are important things. That will be the first session. The second session will be mostly about the history of the city and the ebb and flow of the history of Rome. So I've prepared here a little graph. This is not the stock market, although you might know. But a little graph of how things go about in the history of Rome. From the 700, the foundation, and here 1780, the formation of a kingdom of Italy. With a king buried in this white elephant, with a king that is more French than Italian. When Garibaldi and Cavour, who are the leaders of the independentist movement, have to choose a new king, they cannot choose the Austrians because they just kicked them out. They cannot choose the Spanish because they kicked them out from Naples and Sicily. They cannot choose the Pope, of course. So they choose the king of Piedmont, who is more French. He speaks French rather than Italian. And so this is the ebb and flow, and it goes about with the Republic, the Empire, the creation of the Empire here, the crisis, something we will see in detail, like now. For example, and before that, an approach based on these tenets. During the Republic, there is political instability. Julius Caesar never had a tranquil day in his life, and of course the ones coming before him didn't. There is peace at the Caput Mundi, the top of it, during the Empire. For the Golden Age, about 180 years, 200 years. And then there's a long period of stagnation. The period of stagnation is the period where the Pope is ruler of Rome, and it becomes a pilgrimage center. Rome has the importance of being the head of the Christian church at the time, and therefore glimpses of political power, and of course the power that a pilgrimage center gives the city. And then the start of the new age of Rome, status, power, and influence in the city, and it becomes an art powerhouse with the Renaissance in 1500. Thanks to the imperialistic policies, it doesn't become an empire, but it does use imperialistic policies, conquest, control, taxation, in order to create, and that of course is 1500s with Julius II, a military pope, and of course Julius II has the money to hire the artists. And then capital in 1781, at the end of the graph, the capital of the new republic. So the birth of the kingdom here, this is one spot, 1753. This is a very important point. Another important point, just to sample, the crisis of the 3rd century of Rome, the empire. Why are they in crisis? We'll see about that. And then, yes, the Renaissance. I was just talking about the Renaissance in 1500, where Rome becomes again a very important city. This is the topic, the Renaissance, the 1500. This is the topic we're going to talk later on. And, of course, you have material evidence for every period. This is one corner, one very, very important corner of the Palatine Hill, in the very center of Rome, where you have the remains, Etruscan remains, in Etruscan style, of the house of Romulus, the first king of Rome. Or so the legend has it. Then next to it, you will have the other important ritual spots. So you have evidence for those very, very early years of the monarchy of Rome, 800, 700 before Christ. Then you have the crisis of the 3rd century, also evidence for the crisis of the 3rd century. This, for example, is the portrait, marble portrait of Philip the Arab, one of the emperors, by 240-something, 250 after Christ. And the portraiture does reflect the weariness these emperors have. There's a constant civil war, they fight among them, so they don't last long, and the portrait does reflect this attitude of weariness they have during their reign. We will explain why is it that there's a crisis in the empire. Well, the portraiture, you can compare this atteggiamento, this way of representing the emperor with this. In this case, this emperor has no problem. This is Augustus, Octavian becomes Augustus. And this is, for example, one of the statues you should not miss, but that everybody misses. Why? Because you have to turn left and then another right and then another right, and people do not see that part of the Vatican museums. It is understandable. Once you get into the Vatican museums, it's like a tsunami. You just go with the flow, and it's very difficult to turn right or left. And it all ends up in the Sistine Chapel. You have to walk about 5 miles to get to the Sistine Chapel. All along, you have monuments, statues, and sometimes you need to turn right and get to see the Augusto of Prima Porta. This is a statue of Augustus found in the villa of his wife, the summer villa of his wife. A statue that reflects the power that the emperor had at this time. He was a ruler for 40 years. It reflects his power. The iconography of the how do you call it? The shield, the armor is also extremely important. You can see that he's Augustus here Augustus is on the left, and on the right there's a Parthian, a fellow from Mesopotamia, giving back the eagles to Augustus. One of the things Augustus needs to do when he gets into power is to reestablish the power of Rome. There have been so many civil wars that the peoples that were dominated by Rome start struggling, start fighting against Rome. One of the things Augustus needs to do is go back to the Parthians and get back the eagles. Crassus, one of the members of the first triumvirate, very rich man, rich as Crassus, lost the eagles. He was a very rich man, but a very bad general. So he lost the eagles in a battle, and that's where the crass error comes from. It's a very crass error. It refers to Crassus losing the eagles against the Parthians. And Augustus will have to restore the power of Rome in the east, and there is the event as the Parthians return the eagles. The most important thing the army has are the eagles, the standard of the army. So you can see the contrast of an emperor at his height of its power and an emperor during crisis. This is the case of Philip the Arab. And of course the Renaissance, right? This is another statue that everybody, they miss it less than the Augustus of Prima Porta. But it's also one that is a bit difficult to find. It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes walking from the Colosseum, but not everybody knows that, and it's free. It's one of those statues that is part of a church, and you enter the church, and it's free. You can see the Moses by Michelangelo for free. No flash. Be careful with the custodians at the church of, ¿cuál era? The church of San Pietro in Vincoli. The custodians are terrible. The woman is no flash and no talking. And you just approach and observe the statue of Moses. Quite a striking one. A statue that reflects reflects a very important thing about these Renaissance masters. Is one that they never stop learning. You can compare the statue of Michelangelo with a David. And the David would look more like Augustus of Prima Porta. The David is a very classical. This one is not classical. This statue is carved after Michelangelo gets to Rome and starts learning more about the history of the city, the art of the city, an art that was underground. Michelangelo is a bit of an archaeologist. He excavates. Raphael gets into the palaces and observes the ceilings and will copy those ceilings in the Vatican. One of the things you shouldn't miss while you're taken by the tsunami is look up and see the paintings of the ceiling. Paintings made in Roman style. And sometimes while you're in the tsunami, you don't look up. Yeah, you'll have to look up to see the long decoration of many of these ceilings by Raphael. Raphael was interested in these things. So they never stop learning. And this is a statue with a very different aim and content than the David. Here's Moses on top of the Sinai receiving the tablets, right? The scriptures. And it's a very important place to understand how Michelangelo, this is not the only statue of Michelangelo that you can see for free. Indeed, it's not the only place you can see for free of the great art of the great masters that you can see for free. All the churches of Rome have something. And it is worth taking a look at these as you go by, as you walk the city and enter the churches to observe this art. So the birth of the kingdom again, and we have, so there's a heritage for every taste. There is Etruscan, You will walk through the Via Sacra, through the Forum of Rome, and in May, June, we would do excavations under the Roman levels, and they will be, yes, excavating Etruscan structures. Classical Roman. There will be Romanesque, Byzantine, medieval structures, very many. We'll see about that. There will be Renaissance, of course. There will be Neoclassical. There will be Baroque. More classicism of the 1800s. And then, of course, Modernist and Fascist. There's a lot of fascist architecture in Italy. There's a spot missing there. What is missing in this sequence, artistic sequence? Sorry, no Gothic. Or just bits of it. There's no Gothic art. And here I use the term Gothic in a very general term, general way. There is an Italian Gothic. There is an international Gothic, the Gothic from Germany, the Gothic from the Flanders. There's an Italian Gothic. Here I use Gothic in general. There's not that kind of art in Rome, except in bits, except in chapels, little chapels. We will understand, we will explain why there's no Gothic in Rome, why there was not the riches necessary to build Gothic structures from scratch. Not that kind of money, not those amounts of money, but just bits of money to build little chapels. And this, of course, relates to the power, the lack of political power of the popes before their Renaissance period, before 1500s. Session 3 will be about the Dark Ages, the period before the Renaissance exactly, 11 centuries as a backwater town, just as a measure of comparison. In the year 100 after Christ, Rome will have 1,000,000, 1,200,000, 1,300,000. Nobody really knows, but around 1 million. By the 10th century, we'll have 20,000 people. Rome as a city has lost all its power, all its economic interest. It will be a transient city where people come for pilgrimage, but once or twice a year. No, people do not live in Rome. And so, in this 11 centuries period that goes from the year 330 to 1500, Rome is a backwater town. Why 330? Because that is the year Constantine decides that Rome is not the capital anymore. The capital will be Constantinople. And he will take things with him to Constantinople to jumpstart his capital. Of course, you visit Istanbul, you visit Constantinople, and you see that he didn't have enough time to build Rome, because obviously the Rome in Italy was not built in a day. We will see about that. So Byzantine art in Rome, with extremely rich mosaics, Byzantine mosaics. Mosaics is a technique of decoration that existed in Roman times, but in Byzantine times, starting in 400, 500, they start changing the kind of colors, they start changing the way they work with the tessera, the little bits of mosaics, and they produce these kinds of things. Now, we will see during the course that the artists that do these things are not Roman artists, they come from somewhere else. They are just hired to do apses and the triumphal arch, and then they go. Rome as a city, for those 11 centuries, is not a city that attracts artists in residence. There's no money to be there all the time. This pattern of having artists all the time starts in the 1500s. And Gothic bits. Easily to miss this. This is the chapel by Fra Angelico in the Vatican Palace. This was the private chapel of the Pope, Nicholas IV, and it's the chapel of the Pope before the construction of the Sistine Chapel. The Sistine Chapel is also the chapel for Sisters of Forth. So you can tell the change of size. This is a very small chapel painted by Fra Angelico in one of his visits to Rome. Fra Angelico comes to Rome, paints and goes. He comes 3 times. The 3rd time he dies in Rome. You can find his tomb in Santa Maria sopra Minerva. He's buried in Rome. But most of his work is not in Rome, where there was really no money flowing all year long. Most of his work is in Florence, where money was flowing freely for 200 years. So obviously, Rome was not the capital of the art capital of the peninsula of Italy. Florence was, because the bankers, the traders were financing artists. The Pope really had no big money, but he had money to paint a little chapel, 3 walls with in Gothic style. This little chapel is also easily missed as you follow the tsunami. Or in this class, we'll also talk about the open spaces of Rome, the Via Appia, right? The Via Appia as south of Rome, the Queen of Roads for the Empire, for the Republic of Rome. The Via Appia was essential for the connections to the east. It went from Rome south to Brindisi, and from Brindisi to Egypt, to Phoenicia, to northern Africa. And it's a park, we've seen it in the film, very green, with along the road that it's 5 minutes from the Palatine. Quite a nice afternoon in the green areas. And you might be lucky to find the Romans there. This is a Sunday morning where they rehearse for reenactments. I found they're doing, what are they doing? They're doing the turtle. The turtle is this shield. They shield each other with the shield, and they advance. Quite interesting. And these are, of course, the eagles. This is what Crassus lost. The eagles of the legions look like this, and that is what Crassus lost in Mesopotamia. Or you can see these open spaces, because the palaces of the emperors, and this is just down the hill from the gardens of Tivoli, from the gardens of Ippolito d'Este, and this is the palace of Hadrian, the villa of Hadrian. Emperors spend little time in Rome. Emperors spend little time on the Palatine, where the imperial palace is. They mostly spend their time in their country houses, in their country palaces. And this happens for every emperor who will go and build a retreat area outside the city. Session 4 will be about the underground of Rome and its wonders. There are about 27, 30 underground places to see in Rome. Some are open every day, some are not. This is the one. This is the Necropolis Vaticana. This is under St. Peter. And this is a place you should write an email to make a reservation. This is by far the most amazing underground place, by far, in Rome. So this is a must for anyone who needs to see underground and wants to see the mausoleums. These are mausoleums. This is a street, but these are mausoleums, houses for the dead. One of the richest ones in Rome. And this is built under Constantine. Will build the Basilica of Constantine on top of this, and then the Basilica of St. Peter we see today will be built on the Basilica of Constantine. The space of the crypt of the popes, where the popes are buried, is the old Basilica of Constantine. This idea, the fact that the Basilica of Constantine, built on top of the necropolis in the year 320, and that lasts for 12 centuries, is an example, a real case of how little money the popes had to replace the old Basilica of Constantine that stood there for 12 centuries. Only in the 1500s, Julius II had the money enough to say, okay, we destroy the Basilica and start building this new thing, which is what we see today. So 12 centuries where the old Basilica was right there. Unfortunately, the Basilica doesn't exist anymore. In the crypt of the popes, you can see a couple of the columns, but there are many other Christian basilicas in the city of Rome, that would show you a bit the ambience, the kind of construction that this large Basilica of Constantine would have. The Basilica of Constantine was not built there it was built there because that is the place where St. Peter was buried. St. Peter was buried very on the north part of this necropolis. St. Peter was buried because this necropolis was next to the Circus of Caligula, which is where St. Peter was crucified. So died in the circus and immediately buried in the Basilica. They have found the box with the bones of St. Peter, and yes, as expected, it did not have a head. Why? Because the head is, everybody knows, in St. John Lateran, which is another church of Rome. So they're pretty sure that they have found a place where St. Peter was buried. So the underground of Rome is extremely rich. This is the most important site, and there are other sites. One, for example, that opened last year that is outstanding, and some others that are open every day. So we will have a variety of venues where you can visit. The rebirth of the city. This is a piece of red marble, Egyptian porphyry. It's now extinct. The Romans and the Romans and the Byzantines were so avid for the Egyptian porphyry that now it doesn't exist anymore. They have to do imitations. During the visit to the Vatican museums, you will see amazing pieces made with red porphyry, including a tub, very large basin that belonged to in the Caracalla area, and the sarcophagi of Santa Elena, the wife of Constantine, and his daughter. Okay, so today's topic is the Renaissance. I've been talking a few things about it. The Renaissance in Rome starts in 1500. And it also starts 200 years late. Why? Because in Florence, by the 1300s, the bankers and the traders were investing money in art. And that was part of the humanist frame of mind. I build, I show, I give to the people. It's humanist, but it's also very populist, which is, we will see, how the Roman emperors work as well. One of the things that is expected of Roman emperors to gain the support of the people is that they build things for the people. And in Rome, they built the Amphitheater Flavian. The Amphitheater Flavian was paid by Vespasian for the people of Rome. The baths of Rome, the large complexes of baths, were built by the emperors, paid by the emperors, given to the city of Rome. It was part of the populist way of thinking of Romans. The only ruler of Rome who never gave anything in kind, in material, to the people of Rome was Julius Caesar, who was more of a populist in the lawmaking arena. He was giving new laws, favoring the people of Rome. Once he was dead, he gave a gold coin to every citizen of the city. But during his life, he never built a theater, he never built a Colosseum, in contrast to Pompey, in contrast to Crassus, in contrast to others who did this kind of populist strategies of gaining support. Nonetheless, even though he didn't build anything big, Julius Caesar had very, very large base, large group of clients. That is, the people who support him and people who will support Augustus, Octavian, in his ruling and creating the empire. So in 1500, Rome jump-starts the Renaissance. Who is responsible for jump-starting the Renaissance? Well, we could say Michelangelo. By 1510, Leonardo da Vinci is in town, Raphael is in town, and Michelangelo is in town. So obviously there is money. Julius II is pumping money for these artists to be there. The only one who will leave is Leonardo da Vinci. Why? Because the King of France pays more. So Leonardo da Vinci goes and dies in France, in the Loire Valley. working for the Francis I of France. Raphael and Michelangelo stay. Raphael unfortunately dies young after having done extremely important things in Rome, and Michelangelo will become de facto, he was Florentine, he will become de facto a Roman artist. He dies at 89 in Rome. Obviously, he's an outlier. People will die at 42, average in those periods. So very rich period, and it starts fast. And that's the thing. The Renaissance starts fast in Rome. Jump-started by Michelangelo and his other geniuses, really. It's a combination of factors. It's the fact that the Pope starts imperialistic policies. Julius II knows that, unlike previous popes, he cannot rely on the favor and alliances of kings of Italy, of the kings or the Florentine traders, or the princes of the south, for his power. He has to beget that power. And he does that by creating an army, mercenaries basically. You can create an army of 100,000 tomorrow if you have the money to hire those mercenaries, and they will start extending the papal states in the center of Italy. Those papal states will stay in the center of the peninsula until the formation of the Kingdom of Italy. So it's a combination of factors, but mostly Julius II and his mercenaries and his idea of imperial power in the middle of Italy. But to give credit to who is really responsible for this new perception of how Rome should be is Nicholas IV. Nicholas IV is a pope in 1450, not very far from 1500s. In 1450, Nicholas IV, the chapel we saw by Fra Angelico was painted for Nicholas IV, and Alberti, very important architect of the period, Alberti suggests the Pope that the only way Rome can become again a great city is to transform it again from a medieval city with no sewers to a city that uses the infrastructure that the Romans had. The aqueducts, the sewers on the ground. So they start repairing stuff. They start repairing, unclogging the canals. They start repairing the aqueducts. Water starts flowing again from the Alban Hills, south of Rome, from the two volcanic lakes that provide Rome with water. Aqueducts that run 20 miles. You can still go to Lake Albano, Lake Nemi today and see the place where the water runs down. There's a big shaft that goes down to the valley and then flows to Rome in an aqueduct. So he is responsible, masterminding, to not build anything new. He doesn't have much money, but repairing, unclogging stuff is not very costly. And Alberti and Nicholas IV are responsible for trying to give Rome the kind of sanitation systems that classical Rome had. Now, can you imagine what it is for Alberti, Nicholas IV, and everybody involved in these procedures to unclog the city of Rome, to unclog the canals? Well, they start finding things, that's for sure. They start finding a lot of things. It's the birth of the collector's bug. The Pope will become a collector in substance. The Vatican museums are the most important museum in the world. Why? Because it has things from every part of the world. And it has things obtained a lot in the city of Rome. As they unclog those canals, they find gold coins, jewelry, pieces of statue, heads, parts of statue, and they start building the Vatican museums. That's where the Vatican museums start, and they never stop. Each missionary that goes to China has $200 to buy things. And there is a museum that nobody visits, which is an ethnographic museum. Ethnographic things from around the world that the missionaries bring and send to the Pope. There's a Pinacothek also, the Pinacothek of the Vatican museums. Well, the Pope decided that they had to have an art gallery, so he started picking stuff from the churches. He was extracting things from the churches of Rome. In the process as well, In the process as well, those churches from which he's taking the art, those churches are destroyed. Because if you're going to develop the city, you need space for these the palaces of the cardinals. Because Ippolito d'Este didn't have just Tivoli. He had a palace downtown Rome as well. And the old medieval city had to be torn down, including 2-3 churches in one block, to build a new palace. Since 1500, an estimate is that 350 churches were destroyed. Most of their frescoes and art goes to the Vatican or go to other museums or go to churches. In some museums of Rome, you will find the frescoes of the 9th or 10th century destroyed or obtained from destroyed churches in the city. So the collector's bug. He is the best. He's the birth of the collector. At least the birth of a collector's endeavor in the Western world. And this is what you see in the Vatican. One of the things you will see in the Vatican museums is not mismatch of things, but just the diversity of things that you find in those collections. All right. As I said, we are talking about restless and genial geniuses. These fellows, Alberti, less famous, Michelangelo Raphael, never stop learning. Raphael visits. Look at those holes. If you open that hole, there's a park. It's like open space. All this was full of earth, dirt. And Raphael gets in and looks at the ceilings, look at the paintings. This is the Domus Aurea. This is the golden house of Nero. And it is known that Michelangelo and Raphael dig, find things, observe, get ideas from this space. This statue was found in the Domus Aurea. Does anyone know this statue? Has everyone seen? If you follow the tsunami, it's on the left, more or less 5 minutes after you enter. You can get a glimpse of it and then follow. It's in one of the octagonal open space in the Vatican Museum. You see it in the first 15 minutes. You start This statue was found in the Palace of Nero. And this statue was found in the Palace of Nero while Michelangelo was in town. It was not found by him, but he saw it first. He was of the first ones to see it. And Michelangelo had never seen anything like it before. This is not the Augustus of Prima Porta. This is not the style of the David. This is a different thing. This is Hellenistic style. This is not classic, this is Hellenistic. This is Hellenistic, is the mix of classical styles with Oriental styles. Hellenistic art is a result of the expansion of Greek art into the Orient. Who is responsible for that? Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great becomes an Oriental king, expands the Greek culture. Alexander knew about a little bit. His instructor, his teacher was Aristotle. So he expands Greek culture. Greek is the language where the first scriptures are written. And so Michelangelo discovers this statue and had never seen anything like it. He had never seen anything so tormented. He could probably never imagine that something so tormented could be put into marble. And he was, of course, the right fellow to do it again. Well, he does it again with the Moses. The Moses is a direct result of him experiencing this kind of behavior, this kind of putting into a statue the pain of Lacan, the pain of his kids, the contortion of the body, and of course the detail of the anatomical features of this statue. So the Moses is the first work that Michelangelo does in Rome, directly inspired by Hellenistic art. The Moses is unlike the David. The Moses is a result of his learning of this. And it's remarkable. This is a statue you can see, you have to pay, to see it in the Vatican museums. And it was found in the house of Nero. So everything very close by. They knew how rich the underground of Rome. Nicholas IV and Alberti are responsible for knowing how rich that underground of Rome was. And of course, once you don't have to miss, you could miss this one. This is again the Vatican museums. If you go straight, you miss this. These are the papal apartments. You will miss the little chapel by Fra Angelico, and you will miss the School of Athens. This is Raphael at his best. Paintings, mural paintings for the rooms of Julius II. And this is painted in 1510, when the three geniuses are there, Leonardo and Michelangelo. And you have to take a left instead of going straight to the Sistine Chapel. This is Pope Julius II by Raphael d'Urbino. Strangely enough, Julius II is not represented here. But a great deal of people, geniuses, are represented here. Pythagoras, Socrates. Where's Socrates? Socrates is right there arguing in the Agora of Athens. But of course, Aristotle, as with the face of Leonardo da Vinci, and Michelangelo here, and Raphael himself. This little fellow with a black cap is Raphael. And then to end, here, Bramante, the uncle of Raphael. Bramante, the architect, he's a fellow, Bramante Ruinante. He's the fellow who starts destroying the Basilica of Constantine to build St. Peter. He's the architect, uncle of Raphael. Raphael gets the job because Bramante, his uncle. Connections are very important. And then, of course, the quality of Raphael stuff. Raphael is right there, and then Bramante, his uncle, and then the philosophers, and quite important too, we won't go into that, Zoroaster and Ptolemeus. This is 1510. The Christian church has already accepted, the Catholic church has already accepted that the earth is round. They don't accept they don't accept that the sun is at the center. They don't accept that, but they already accept it in 18 years before they had discovered the Americas. So already, this is like the state of the art of the knowledge, and the earth is now represented by Ptolemeus, who is giving our back to us, and Zoroaster, who's this Persian scholar about the zodiac and the stars. Okay, so a state of the art of the knowledge of the world by 1510. This is what they believe in. And they have the Greeks, and of course, all this into the setting. Raphael is very good for settings. You're talking about murals, or you're talking about gobelins or tapestries. You will see those on the left side as you go down the tsunami. You'll see the tapestries based on the drawings by Raphael. Drawings, by the way, that are the original drawings, the cartoons are in the Victoria and Albert Museum in Rome. The real gobelins, the real textiles, the weaves are in Rome. They were made for the Pope. And he has also, in all those, be it textile or be it mural, very, very keen on representing good architecture. This is probably the Bath of Caracalla, the Bath of Caracalla in Rome. And of course all the people, because you'll be there with tons of people. Just have to look up. Right? It'll be full, it'll be no photo, no flash, but find the calm. You will need to find calm in order to actually enjoy what you're seeing. I've heard that many people have not enjoyed a bit the Sistine Chapel because of this, the commotion there is. Everybody taking photos, which is forbidden. It is forbidden because the Japanese TV has rights, the copyrights. They paid the $15 million for the restoration of it. So they have the rights must be coming up in very few years, but they'll sell them again. They'll sell them to someone else. Let's say no photo. All right. And what time is it? I have no idea.
Almost
20 to 2, okay. 20 to 3. Oh, I'm oh, wow, okay. All right, so just to finish this part. Museums and masterpieces for free. You can get them in Rome. Not this one, because this one is in the Vatican Museums, in the Pinacoteca, the art gallery of the Vatican Museum. This is by, of course, Caravaggio. Very important painting. But the good thing is that you can see 9 Caravaggios for free in the churches of Rome. And this is a good deal. So you can see free in the Church of St. Louis of the French, this Caravaggio here, which is part of a triptych, really, built by Caravaggio. And the other churches of Rome also show this free art. Very important to concentrate on the churches of Rome because they have exceptional art. The best deal in town, of course, is unfortunately museums never not visited too much. The 2 black holes in Rome, there are 2 black holes. The Colosseum, 4.5 million, and the Vatican Museum, 4.5 million. Next to it is the next museum in affluence is the National Museum in front of the train station, which has 500,000. So 4 million less a year. And it's a great deal because you can get entry for 4 museums for 10 euros. The Vatican's museums cost you 17, and it's a tsunami. In this case, you find exceptional things. These, for example, this is a statue that belonged to Julius Caesar. We know those things because Romans write, and we have a lot of documents that tell that Niobe, wounded Niobe, was part of the collection of Julius Caesar, or you can have objects like these. The best bronzes, in the Vatican you will see no bronzes except a big Hercules, but this exceptional, the boxer in the National Museum across the train station. Or in the same museum you find this exceptional room, which is the same place where they found the Augustus of Prima Porta with the murals of the dining room, the summer dining room of Livia, the wife of Augustus the emperor. It's a large room under good conditions, climatic conditions for its preservation. Chances are that murals, yes, they're out of context, but will preserve better, and you will be able to visit them in museums. Session 6, it will be Rome for the Ages and the management of the city. We will talk about the outskirts, of course, where to go. The best place to go, because it's easier transportation, is Ostia Antica. And we'll explain how to get to Ostia Antica. The second place to go, not that easy, is Tivoli. The photos we started with, a bit more complex, but feasible. Very worth it. There they are. And then the evolution of the city. It's a city full of graffiti, which was not unlike in Roman times, also full of graffiti and full of cars everywhere, and scooters, and papers. So one has to live a little bit with this situation, which is a bit unfortunate sometimes. Of course, there's art that is fantastic. Look at that. This is a very modern, very techno representation of the original myth of the city of Rome, Romulus and Remo and the she-wolf. Okay? So this course is aimed at the avid attendees, you, and it should be very dynamic. It should be full of your questions, concerns, and that is why those of you who enroll, please, you can drop me a message asking me, what do you need to know? What would you like to know? I might not be talking about the same things you want to know, but we can gear up the course to resolve specific questions of any of you, detailed things or more specific things you want to see in the city. Okay. All right.